Wow. So 4 years ago, I was scouring YouTube for any and every YouTube video where couples would talk about their experience doing long distance. And now I get to pay it forward. I think this topic comes up a lot with folks who are in the academic grind, or especially in the medical field, where a lot of times the educational institution you're at forces you to live apart from your family, from your partner, and it really sucks. But I wanted to share the lessons and insights I've gained after living 3 years apart from my then boyfriend, now husband. I will say the ending to the story is overall positive. I think being apart from your partner will make you realize how much that person means to you and how much value they add to your life. And I think being long distance ultimately contributed to why my husband and I got engaged and married so quickly. Okay, so before I ramble on too much about the meaning of life, let me set up the situation and the characters. So my husband and I, we met in medical school. We started dating towards the end of third year. And then a year later, we found ourselves at match day, where we opened up our envelopes and bam, we found out we were gonna do a 3-year long distance relationship in 2 different states and a 3-hour time zone difference. So a lot of feelings that day. I was mostly super excited because I had gotten one of my top programs at USC, and we were both gonna get the opportunity to explore a new city. He at Honolulu, Hawaii, and I was gonna go to Los Angeles, California. So it was kind of a mixed bag that day. I think ultimately we were both very excited. And I'll never forget that last day that both of us were in Orlando and he got into his Uber to the airport. I just had such a knot in my stomach because I had no idea what we were in for. This was both of our first times ever doing long distance. So our long distance journey began on a note of excitement because both of us were living in these amazing cities for the first time in our lives. I was in Los Angeles, so there was so much to do around me, and I had spent all my life living in suburbs. So it was such a fun culture shock to be living in the heart of little Tokyo and having so much amazing food. And I was meeting all these new people in my building and also residency. And we found ourselves in this honeymoon phase, because we were both just so excited to be in a new setting. I remember, despite working so many hours, I would spend all of my free time exploring new places, going on new hikes all over the city, trying new restaurants. And then things were, going up, 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 super exciting, great experience. And after that third month, it was just like crash. After 3 months, the workload finally dawned on me. And on top of that, with the very limited free time I had, I was so mad and frustrated that I couldn't spend it with my partner. And that was when I began to really resent my decision to do long distance. I was like, Nisha, what the hell? What did you get yourself into? But thankfully, that crash and that heartbreak didn't last forever. The clouds eventually parted and the sun came out. Because at the end of the day, human beings can really get used to anything, any condition. But I eventually accepted that residency is gonna be like this. And I started leaning into my friendships. But I got used to not seeing my partner every day. I accepted that I had very limited free time. And finally, we reached our first vacation together. It was Christmas. And I still remember that day. We were sitting on the beach in Hawaii, and I remembered this clarity, realizing that when I'm with this person, I feel so happy. I have so much peace added to my life. And long story short, that's when we decided to get engaged and married. And I know this is corny, but I really do think distance makes the heart grow fonder. And I think more importantly, distance makes you realize how much that person adds to your life. So yeah, it's hard, but I think challenges that we face in life ultimately make us realize what is important to us at the end of the day. So yeah, in the span of the 3 years we were apart, we went from boyfriend, girlfriend, to fiance, to husband and wife. And I do think it can happen the opposite way too. You know, it's if that person is not the person for you, distance can also help you realize that how much that person drains your energy. And I think other things that long distance does is it just makes you a tougher person too. It doesn't just make your relationship stronger, you yourself become stronger, because the more hard things you do in life, the more confident you become with facing the unknown, with facing challenges. Which is why I get so annoyed, you know, and this happened like more than a few times during my 3 years. People would come up to me, and when they learn about our long distance situation, they would be like, oh, like, you're so strong for being able to go through that. You know, I could not do that with my partner. There were always two things that would run through my head whenever someone said that. You know, first, if you can't go through long distance with the partner you're with, then that person is not meant to be your life partner. Sorry, I don't know if that's a hot take, but I truly believe that, because life is inevitably gonna throw challenges your way. Some of them anticipated, most of them not anticipated. And your life partner is supposed to be the person that you're supposed to face those challenges with. So if something like distance is the thing to break you apart, then that's just not the person for you. I'm sorry. And trust me, distance is not, I mean, compared to other crap that happens in life, like distance is really not that bad. So that was the first thing that would go through my mind. But the second thing would be the more honest thing that's going on here. I think that person doesn't realize how strong they actually are. You know, we see challenges that other people have gone through, and we often say like, I could not do that. I could not go through that. But I really believe that the human spirit is a lot stronger than we think. Okay, so that was my story, but before I wrap up, I wanted to go over 4 things to look out for if you are entering into a long distance relationship. So the first thing are the reunions. So the reunions are going to be such a rush of emotion because you probably haven't seen the other person in like a month. And, you know, the first moment you see them, you're just so excited. I mean, it's not even when you see them, it's when you're packing, when you're, you know, counting down the days that you get to go to the airport, to fly, to see your partner. It's like, that part is so wonderful and exciting. And when you first lay eyes on them, oh my God, like it's really not the same once you live together, you know, like, I mean, I love living with my husband now, but you know, our date nights and our trips are not as exciting. You know, once you get used to seeing each other every single day, you're just, that adrenaline rush will never come again unless you do long distance again at some point. But on the flip side, when you leave after seeing each other, it's like the worst feeling. It's the worst. Like I think at the beginning, year and a half, like the first half of our time apart, I would cry. I would sob the day before I had to go to the airport. And I think towards the end, I think it was the fatigue of residency. I just was like, all right, whatever. This thing's gonna end. So I don't have the energy to cry. So the second thing that I commonly get asked about is communication. Okay, my approach to this, I think some people might take issue to, but because both of us were in residency and were drowning in our resident responsibilities and lack of free time, and also a 3-hour time difference and constant exhaustion, we both had to adopt this go with the flow kind of regimen for communicating. I know, I think type A people who are watching this are probably screaming internally. Sorry. But hear me out. At the beginning, I talked to a lot of people as well, and they said having a regular date night per week or a regular time you're supposed to talk to each other every single day helped them a lot. But that actually made things worse for us because we would just always be mad at each other because, if working in residency, some days are just insane. Like you have 4 rapid responses. You have to do all the paperwork, writing notes. Like sometimes you're there till like 8 or 9 p.m. and then you miss your weekly or your daily call. And then some days like I would sleep like literally the whole day and he would do the same. We would just be so tired, and having this like daily commitment or like weekly date night, it just that ended up putting a strain on our relationship. But it wasn't like we never called each other. We actually, despite having this go with the flow attitude, we talked almost every single day because we would talk whenever we had a chance to. And he was like 3 hours behind my schedule because he was in Hawaii. So I would always be the one who had to stay up late to chat with him. And so it did actually fall into a bit of a routine where he would call me around my bedtime, like 8 or 9 p.m., and he would have just gotten off of work. And he would always call me on his way home. So we would actually talk. We would talk every single day, but not having that pressure that if I don't talk or if my partner doesn't call me at the same time every day, then that person doesn't care about me. Not having that constraint there really freed us up. I remember at the beginning too, I wanted there to be this ritual where every morning and every evening we had to say good morning and good night, or else I would get so mad. That quickly fell apart when we had to do 24 hours, or one of us had to work the night shift for a week, and that would explode. And then it worked out better for us to not have scheduled communication. But that being said, if you're not in residency and you're just doing like college apart or even medical school apart, having scheduled communication slots would help a lot. I highly recommend that. Okay, the third thing is that your time apart will go by a lot quicker the more busy you are. And now that I am done with residency, I can confidently say it was actually both the longest and the shortest 3 years of my life. No, ultimately it was very short. I can't believe the 3 years are up. So that is good news for those of you who are going through residency, or if you have a stable work schedule and stable job. I would recommend getting some extracurriculars on board, like, go to a gym class, or, join a Pilates studio, or even host game night a couple nights a week. So you have like a lot of things going on, and that will make your time go by like that. Okay, and the last piece of advice I would give is don't enter into a long distance relationship with someone you don't trust. And obviously that should be a red flag despite the distance. As I alluded to with the communication, you have to have a solid trust that that person is sometimes not gonna call you, not because they don't care about you. It's because they have other crazy things going on with, their workload, or they're just emotionally exhausted. And I do think that trust is what made the distance work so well. We were together for like a year and a half, and we spent like almost every single day together. So we got to know each other very well. We met each other's families. So when the long distance came around, we were just like, all right, I know who you are, I know what your values are. And we both value loyalty above everything else. And I think that also helped a lot. So if you're about to embark on a long distance journey, definitely have those discussions with your partner. And we would also set boundaries too. I made it very obvious what I was and wasn't comfortable with him doing. Like specifically, I would feel weird if he was doing one-on-one activities with another girl. Even though I did trust him, I would feel weird about that. And he totally understood, and he never, he would always make sure he was in a group. So if there are things that would make you uncomfortable that person does, like, you need to voice that, and you both need to work it out before you begin long distance, because it's just gonna be fuel for fights. Okay, so that is all the advice and experience I have to share on that topic. I mean, I'm sure there's like a bunch of stuff I haven't covered. So if there's anything specific y'all want to know, please feel free to drop it down in the comments below. I have this big sister compulsion to mentor and advise people about things that I've learned in life. So I truly love helping you guys out. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this life advice chatty vlog. If that's not your vibe, we'll probably haven't made it to the conclusion part. But I will resume my usual educational tutorial style videos next Sunday. So if you guys like that video, please hit the like and subscribe button. I put out new videos every week. My passion is to help busy people with demanding careers live a more balanced and healthy life. So if that's your vibe, check out the other half of my channel. And also, if you enjoy hearing me rambling about life, then I do have a free weekly email newsletter on meditations about health and wellness that you can check out in the description box below. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a happy and peaceful rest of your day, and I'll see you next week. Bye!